Christians are some of the most skillful and dangerous witches around. Guys, this is not a Christian hate channel. No, I'm not Christian, but I do want everyone to feel welcome here. So that being said, before I even get into the video, please keep comments respectful because I'm going to be respectful in this video. Obviously, I'm saying Christians. That's a generalization. Obviously, I don't mean all Christians. I just mean some Christians. I actually have a very specific example that came to my mind that made me want to do this video. But then even like just branching out into pop culture, we're just gonna get into it. Because Christians been flying under the radar of witchcraft, and I just feel like we need to just review. We need to just take a quick review of what's actually going on here. Even though I'm starting it talking about Christians, this video is not strictly about Christians. It's more so about the power of intention, the power of the ego, and the Five of Pentacles for my fellow tarot readers out there. And last disclaimer before we actually get into the video, because I have a laundry list of things to do and not enough time to do them, I'm going to be doing my skincare while we have this discussion. Let's get into it. I have a friend, a really good friend, whose family is very religious. I'm not going to say what sector of Christianity, but they're very religious, very Christian. And she told me this story one time about how when she was getting married to her first husband, or I don't even know if they were getting married yet. Maybe they were just going on a date or something. I can't really remember. But her dad literally looked her in the eye and was like, if you marry, I think they were getting married. He was like, if you marry that man, he's going to make you cry the way you've never cried before. And she was already terrified to marry him because she knew her family didn't approve and like they would basically stop talking to her if she married this man. But she went and did it anyway because they were in love. And yeah, they did end up getting divorced, and she quotes, she did cry like she's never cried before, but it just sticks in her brain. And she didn't say this, but I get the sense that it sticks in her brain because of how accurate it was. And that's kind of what sent me down this rabbit hole of Christians being some of the most skillful and dangerous witches. Because here's the thing. In this specific example that I just gave you guys, her father he had the strength of ego to basically say that to her face and to convince her that he was right. It's also her dad, so you already kind of give them a lot of power. And it's not until you're an adult and kind of away from them that you start to maybe question things a little bit, but she really hadn't spent any time away from them at this point. So he had the strength of ego to say that to her and know that she would believe it. But then he gets the absolution that Christianity provides that says, you're not that powerful. Your words mean nothing. You don't have to, which actually, if you read the Bible, it does talk about the power of the tongue and this, that, and the third. But in practice, a lot of Christians don't live by that. They actually are some Christians actually don't pay attention to the words that they use at all. They'll say, like, how many teen Christians say, oh, I'm dead? And then, like when they're laughing or something like that. You could say that's not a big deal. Tomato, tomato, it's all the same. You either are impeccable with your word or you're not. So yeah, it's like he had the power and the strength of ego to basically curse her. But then he also gets the absolution that Christianity provides that says you're not that powerful. You're not a god or a creator in your own right. You're not XYZ. Like, the whole idea of Christianity is that you're not powerful enough to actually wield any level of authority over someone else. Okay. There's the other side of this as well, where my friend, because she was younger, and again, she hadn't really spent any time away from her parents, she bought into that. So I'm kind of being brought to a movie called The Skeleton Key, which I haven't watched in years, but it might be time for me to rewatch. And if you've never watched it, I definitely recommend checking it out. And I don't remember the full, like all of the details of everything that happened. All I remember, and before I say this, let me say this is about to be a spoiler alert. So if you need to rewatch it or if you want to watch it, I'll put a timestamp on the screen to where you can forward to in order to not hear the spoiler. Okay. I don't really remember everything. All I remember, the main point that I remember is that the spells that the old lady was doing wouldn't work until the girl she was doing those spells on believed in them. It wasn't until the girl started to kind of believe or feel like, oh, that's weird. Like, it wasn't until she felt like something might be more powerful than her that the spells actually started to work. And that's kind of the same thing with my friend. If she had had more strength in her solar plexus, more self-awareness, more understanding of the energy exchange that was happening in that moment, she would have been able to pull back and say, no, you're wrong. Like, that has no power over me. You're full of shit. Like, whatever she needed to say, she would have been able to say it. But of course, growing up very Christian, she wasn't taught that. And of course, with the parents that she has, she definitely wouldn't have been taught that because they kind of had like a very strong grip on her. So, yeah, it's just like, I'm not blaming her, obviously. Like, she's not to blame, but I'm just saying it only worked, that spell only worked because she really believed that her father was the authority and knew better than she did. Even though she went her own way, did her own thing, I think there must have still been some sort of belief in her bones that he's right, this is wrong, I shouldn't be going to get married to this man. Obviously, it's a little harder to talk and chew gum when we're talking about skincare instead of makeup. Give me 1 second and I will be right back. All right. If you need a pop culture example of this, I feel like there is no better than Nicki Minaj. This lady be cursing people left and right in the name of Jesus as if he approves. And maybe he does. Because in my defense, I don't even know. Like, I don't 100% trust the Bible. There's been too many writers, too many translations, there's still quite a bit of it hidden in the Vatican. So maybe there's a side of Jesus that we don't know about. Who am I don't know. But all I'm saying is that this lady, look at these screenshots, bro. Look at these screenshots. I'm just like, and she calls herself a Christian. She said, you'll be eating out the garbage cans of the Bronx in the name of Jesus. Like, who says stuff like that? And then she said something else. One day, your mother, aunt, and many more will be brought to their knees for what they've said and tried to do to my young prophet, beautiful boy. At least this one wasn't in the name of Jesus, but she does claim to be a Christian and shun voodoo and all of that. And then she goes and does stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't know if you're as opposed to voodoo as you pretend to be. But this is the exact type of Christian that I am talking about. And I do know some of these. So I know that they exist beyond just pop culture and Nicki Minaj. I told you guys I have family who's Christian. I do have these types of Christians in my family. Thank God, not all of them, not the ones that I really deal with. So, all that being said, I do have those types of Christians in my family, though, who they're so intent on being right that it's like they have the energy. And this is where a lot of witches and spiritual people actually kind of fall short, is that I think we've gotten so sold on the love and light and the peaceful energy of spirituality. And I get it because I do value peace as well. But Christians, when they are doing this level of cursing, they have the vitriol, the anger, whatever the energy is, they got the energy to really get that shit through to your head if you choose to buy into it. And that's still the other side of this, is that you have to choose whether or not you're buying into that story, whatever story they're trying to tell about how you're going to be cursed. But a lot of our spiritual people in the spiritual community, we're doing the spells but don't necessarily have the emotional or energetic attachment to it, and so it kind of just falls flat. You know, it's like you do it and then it just fizzles into the ether. That's why, because there's no energy being put behind it. Versus you have somebody who's hell bent on being right, and yeah, those curses can go places. And this is why I say Christians are some of the most dangerous, but also the most skillful. And I'm not saying that they know they're doing this. I'm not saying it's intentional. And again, I'm not saying that it's all of them. But out in the world, they can be some of the fiercest spellcasters. Some of the fiercest. And then all of all of these examples, this discussion, it brings me to the Five of Pentacles. Let me do my next step in my skincare because, again, obviously I can't talk and chew gum with this. For some reason, as I was just watching my face, I was reminded of this clip I saw of this preacher. It was a black female preacher who was basically shunning her congregation for listening to Beyonce. And she was like, how dare you call yourself a Christian if you're going to that lady's concert and listening to her music and stuff. I don't know why that just came up. Perhaps it'll come back up. I know Beyonce is somebody who gets a lot of... There's a lot of speculation about her spiritual beliefs. I'm not really here to get into that. Definitely not here to speculate. Even with Nicki, I'm not here to speculate. That was just receipts that she put out on the internet, okay? It was free use, available for everybody. So, yeah. Let's talk about the Five of Pentacles. The Five of Pentacles is usually considered the card of being left out in the cold. That's like the generic meaning that you will hear associated with the Five of Pentacles. In the traditional Five of Pentacles from the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot, it shows two people outside of a church where they should be able to, you know, rest and be safe from the cold environment that they're in, but they're outside the church. It's like they're shunned. They're not welcome in. The word or the phrase that keeps coming up when I think about this is power dynamics. And this is something really important, as I've kind of already emphasized when it comes to spell work or spell casting. And especially like if you're not just casting for yourself, but then there's other people involved, which I just mind my business personally. But you know, it's definitely a power exchange, and it's all about whose story you're gonna buy into. Father, okay. I'm getting so many things just with that. I actually had a conversation with my aunt recently about how I really feel like witchcraft, the craft of it is really just the story. And then it's all about who, how many people you can get to buy into your story and for how long. I don't know how else to put that. Obviously this isn't so much for like, you know, individual work, like if you're just doing work on your own, but she had sent me a meme about witchcraft, and it was not talking about, you know, working on yourself or manifesting or anything like that. It was something regarding multiple people, multiple groups. And so that's the thought that I had, is that witchcraft is really nothing more than a story, and the effectiveness of it is proof of how good of a spell it is. And so power dynamics, it's like, are you weak or are you strong? And who is stronger? And I don't know. Power dynamics isn't something you normally hear about Five of Pentacles, but you do have to think about it. Like even just in context of the traditional card, those windows are glass. They could break through the glass windows and at least have a little bit more warmth. Is it illegal? Probably. I mean, but it's an option. It's like, it's like, should you really be allowed to have to sit outside and freeze to death, you know, in these establishments, when there are these multiple establishments on like every street corner that are supposed to be doing the Christian thing and helping? Just an example, I'm not saying nobody go smashing windows, but I'm just saying there is something about tapping into your personal power and understanding that everything you've been told isn't necessarily true, and taking that power back from whatever took it away from you. Solar plexus energy is coming in really heavy, and that makes sense because it is all about willpower. It's your third chakra. You have the root, sacral, solar plexus. Tapping into that solar plexus might be really important for somebody, but also just keeping your solar plexus firm. It's coming through as a form of protection, actually, because if you're not set in yourself, in your knowing, in your XYZ, whatever it is, if you're not set firmly there and secure there, you're going to be topsy-turvy, and any little thing will be able to throw you off. So, which is funny, I was watching one of my videos back this morning for editing, and it was a story about how this lady basically wanted me to take pictures of her, and apparently I suck at taking photos. And immediately I went into people pleaser mode, like, oh, let me learn how to do that so I can be good at it, instead of just realizing that's not really anything I want to know about anyway. I don't want to be behind the camera, obviously. I'm like right here talking to you guys. And there is an option on YouTube to not have your face on here, but I choose to do it because that's what I want. So it's like, even me, like, I'm saying this as advice, but I'm also needing to take my own advice, and I'm realizing that any little thing will throw you off if you're not firm in your solar plexus and in your own beliefs and knowing of who you are. And if you feel like anybody else has authority over you, whether that be your government officials, your pastor, after a certain point, even your parents. Now, your parents do have authority over you, especially if you're under 18. Okay? This ain't for you if you're under 18. But after a certain point in adulthood, your parents don't even have authority over you. You really, there's a word trying to come through. Sovereign. You really have your own sovereignty. You are self-sovereign. Maybe you haven't tapped into that. Maybe you've forgotten it, because part of this whole matrix is in making us feel like we're powerless, but you're not. And nobody can speak over you. Nobody can tell you what you're going to become, what you're going to do if you go this way, or if you do this, you're going to hell. Nobody has that authority. I don't even know how that became so popular amongst Christians, because I'm pretty sure Jesus said, he who has not sinned cast the first stone. I'm very confused as to how we got from that to, oh, I have sinned, but also you're still going to hell for your specific sin. Anyway, I really want to sit with this Beyonce and pastor moment. Just give me a second. Like, I'm going to have to pull cards for that part, because I don't know what that's about. And even as I'm saying that, I'm like, do I really want to know? Because ignorance is really bliss. And I ain't trying to be all up in these folks' business. I don't really care what Beyonce or the preacher practice, because I have my own practice. I do want to know why they came up, though. I feel like that is somewhat relevant. As I'm sitting here with that, I do find it interesting that that went viral. I had never heard of that preacher before then. Haven't heard of her since, although she had a large congregation, so I'm sure she's very popular and powerful in her own way. I just don't really follow Christian preachers or preachers of any kind, really. I follow a lot of tarot readers. But I think it is interesting how viral that went. And I'm kind of getting something about the power dynamics again. Like, if we're talking about, I'm gonna go get some cards to shuffle, but I feel like I'm getting where we're going here. One moment. All Alright, so this is the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, the OG tarot deck. And yeah, okay, so what was coming to my brain as I was talking through that? Take a breath and a sip of coffee. I was reminded of what I said a little earlier about how witchcraft is really just a story, and it's about who can tell the best story. And if you think about it, for all of the claims that, you know, Beyonce is a witch or this or that, you could also say that the pastor was practicing her own form of craft. I'm not saying she was doing it intentionally. But in the context of this video and everything that a spell or witchcraft can be, I think we could say that she was definitely practicing some form of something with that whole rant that she went on. And it's like, out of all the celebrities, why Beyonce specifically, you know? Well, maybe because Beyonce has a large following. And even if you're talking badly about her, talking good about her, actually, if you're talking badly about her, it's gonna go viral because it's not something that people do very often. I feel like they're doing it more now, but early 2000s, you into the 2010s, you had better not say nothing about no Beyonce because the Hive don't play. So I think that could be part of the reason, just for how like popular, how much of a following she has. It's like whether you're talking in love or hate, the fact that you're in the church and you're talking about her, it's gonna go viral. So I do feel like there is some form of craft happening there where it's like, well, let's see who can spin the best spell, who can tell the best story, who can get people to buy into them and their narratives better than the other. And I mean, I don't know if Beyonce actually went into any sort of competition with this lady, but at least from the preacher side, that's kind of the energy that I get. Not saying that she doesn't fully believe what she's saying. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it was solely to try to get more people to come to her side, but that is just the energy that I'm picking up on. Yeah. Judgment. And usually this talks about, like, of course, it's a very, look at the image, it's a very religious card. It's like the Day of Judgment. So the people who, look, I haven't read the Bible in over a decade. But like basically the good people, they get called up to heaven or something, or into the afterlife, something like that. Something like that. I also grew up with two different versions of Christianity, and they are very different versions. So you have Baptist, and then you have Jehovah's Witness. And Jehovah's Witnesses are different from a lot of other Christians, like just as far as the beliefs and what happens and blah, blah, blah. So I think I'm getting my stories a little mixed up, to be honest with you. Anyway, yeah, this judgment is actually feeling more so like the pastor. Like, this is the pastor in that video. And she was calling the like-minded people to her. Obviously, like, through every sermon, but specifically with that, with that level of, like, the only word that keeps coming to my brain is vitriol. With that level of vitriol that she has for Beyonce, she was calling people who are also kind of in alignment with that to her. And then 5 of Wands at the bottom. How fitting. This usually talks about training, collaboration, things like that. But ultimately, more than anything, tension. It's very tense energy. There's a lot of energies happening in one spot. And all of these wands are not aligned. They're not all going in like the same direction. There's no like firm idea of where we're going, what we're doing. Everybody just kind of doing their own thing and trying to like grapple out of this fight. I'm seeing 444. I love how it's the word vitriol and like basically the energy of hate or strong dislike that seems to be calling people these days. You know, it's not even about like so much of life. Like, I thought we were all supposed to be fighting to make our lives better as a society, but so much of life just seems like we don't necessarily need to have the best. So much of society these days feels like we don't even really want the best or even like good enough for ourselves. We just want to make sure that we're not at the bottom. We just want to make sure that we're not the one getting all the vitriol. And in doing that, we're stepping on other people who are deemed as bad or other in some sort of way. Because we feel like if we do that and play the game, then we'll be safe. That's not how that works. History has shown us. You play the small people, the small guys against each other. And then once the groups are small enough and disbanded enough, you attack, and then you can basically control everybody. But what do I know? What do I know? I just urge everyone to be impeccable with your word. Also, another thing I was gonna say that I completely forgot about until just now, I'm not convinced that all Christian witches are ignorant of what they're doing. Like I just said, the preacher, I'm not saying she was intentional. She may have been, she may not have been, I have no clue. My best friend's dad or my good friend's dad, don't know if he was being super intentional. He could have been, he may not have been, I don't know. But you ain't telling me that there's not some Christian witches out there who haven't noticed that the things that they say come to pass, and yet they still continue to curse people or talk down to people or make people feel worse, because that's the power that they have. And power is an addictive thing. Apparently. I mean, seems to be. Seems to cloud a lot of judgment. But yeah, use your words impeccably and also keep your solar plexus strong, because it's a lot of people out here claiming ignorance or spewing hate, spewing narratives, spewing all sorts of really ugly things. And you need to make sure you're not buying into any of that. And it's easier in some cases than in others, so just work on your solar plexus, friend. That's all I have for this video today. I hope it made sense. And again, please keep it respectful in the comments, if any comments must come. Until the next video, you guys, I will see you later. While we talking about the Five of Pentacles, we need to talk about how this head is looking like the Five of Pentacles. It's all right. I'm gonna do it tonight. The second I turned the camera off, just a flood of information, just flooding. And then it stops. What the fuck? That's so interesting. Okay, wait. I had mentioned earlier how, like, with the Five of Pentacles, those two people who are out in the cold, they could break the windows. For some reason, I feel the need to give other examples of things that they can do, because I'm not an anarchist. I'm not saying, like, I'm not saying nothing. I'm just saying. But, like, they're windows. Windows are breakable. So, technically, they can break those. They could also find their own shelter, create their own group for people who are just like them, like for whatever reason not welcome in the place that's supposed to be welcoming to everyone, that's supposed to be like a safeguard to everyone. They could still go and find maybe a cave and just make a shelter out of that. I'm not saying it's ideal. It's certainly not as great as a man-made church, but shit, maybe it's better. Maybe it's better. I don't know. Like, we don't actually know. But it's just like something about getting creative and getting out of those constructs could be important. Like, instead of playing into the power dynamics that would probably have you in the position of playing victim or survivor or something like that, you could also just, like, build your own table. Instead of waiting for a seat at the table, you can build your own table. You can go find your own shelter, make your own church. Not literally, because again, there are enough churches and y'all don't pay taxes. So yeah, you could do like a myriad of things. You don't have to keep seeking approval from other people. And especially if those people are kind of never happy with anything that you do, or you just get the sense that they don't want you to succeed. Yeah, I'm just picking up on like some really hateful fucking energy. Like, I don't know. If every time you tell somebody an idea and they're immediately like, well, that wouldn't work because XYZ, or you're not good enough to do that, you're not smart enough, you don't have the money, the skills, the connections, whatever it is. If every time you tell somebody that you want to do something or you want to be something and they immediately shut it down, don't tell them shit else. Just go find your own tribe, okay? Just because you've been told that this is your family, this is your community, and they should always be behind you, if they're not actually behind you, what? Something just tried to come through and I'm like, wait. Yeah, no, that wasn't working. If they're not actually behind you, just go your own way. Find your actual group. Make something new for yourself. This is kind of tying back to another reading I did. I think it was the social media warrior video, which is actually going to be posted after this one. But some of y'all might want to check that one out, because I think Three of Swords and Five of Pentacles came out in that one too. And then I had gotten something else. Oh, with Judgment, there was something about stand for something or fall for anything. And so as much as I don't like the idea that we're finding our tribe just based off of who we collectively hate, I also, there is something about like what isn't for you, or yeah, what isn't for you makes things a little clearer. So for example, if you know that you don't like your current job, when you're searching for a new job, you know what not to look for, which can be a little easier and a bit better of a guideline instead of what to look for, because maybe you haven't come into contact with everything that you actually want from a job. So same concept with people. If there are groups who band together by hating this group or that group, or they're just hateful people, then you know that you don't actually want to be a part of that crowd. You actually want to go elsewhere. You know, it's like, and also just the judgments that get passed too. There's something about that coming up as well. I promise, the second I turned the camera off, it was like all at once, everything everywhere. I don't know, sometimes knowing what you hate does make things a little clearer, or knowing what you don't like. I feel like that isn't necessarily as relevant when it comes to people, because we could all just coexist. We don't have to hate each other. We don't have to necessarily like be buddy-buddy either. We could just all mind our own fucking business, but apparently the powers that be don't like that option. That doesn't make anybody any money. And even doing this video, it's like a lot of things that I would not have said even a year ago. I'm just like, fuck it, because y'all need to know where I stand, at least a little bit. And I want y'all to know where I stand, because don't be thinking I'm like this or that, or I'm some perfect being, and then I get on and suddenly everybody's like, oh my God, she's lost herself. She's going to hell. Like, no, please no, I've been imperfect the entire time. I was hiding it very well initially. At this point, I don't even want to hide it anymore. It's too much pressure. Too much pressure. Anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox because I don't really have anything else to say. Let me just see if that's the end of this message. I really need to like fix this deck. All right, is that the end of this message today? Did I hit on all of the points? I feel like there might be more to come. This is the Seven of Pentacles. I feel like there might be more to come, but it's also giving like for right now, yeah, but and then Knight of Swords at the bottom. There's an energy of judgment or hate, or there's just a very, because again, that Knight of Swords, look, this dude is ready for war, okay? He ain't running from it. He's going balls to the wall, full speed into attack mode. I'm seeing 717 on the camera. So something about illusion, something about hate, but also just an overall energy of filtering shit out. So like, I don't know how long from now. This is Pentacles and this is Swords. Those are two very different time frames. Starting soon, but I feel like over the next few years, it's gonna be really hard to be neutral about certain things. Like, people are gonna be taking firm stances in one way or another, and it's like you almost have to. It's like you can't walk the middle ground in the next few years. Whether this be in your own community, on a larger scale with like pop stars or politicians or whoever, people aren't going to be able to just be neutral. You're really going to have to take a stance. I don't know why. Again, I just feel like, I don't know, the way it's coming through, it's like everybody's choosing their respective timelines, and so you do have to be clearly planted in different positions to move you into these different timelines that are coming up and splitting off. That's big. I'm getting the Chariot card in my head. That is big. I don't know if I want to know anymore. Y'all have a great day. Stay firm in your solar plexus. There's a song by Oshun that y'all might want to listen to called Solar Plexus. The Orisha Oshun might be relevant to you. Her color is yellow, which is also the color of the solar plexus, so that may be relevant. Getting some crystals that are good for the solar plexus. Tiger's Eye is one of my favorite, but also Fool's Gold. Citrine is definitely one of my favorite. I'm getting like honey calcite or orange calcite. More so honey calcite. Going out and sunbathing, making sure you're getting your vitamin D. Ab workouts, great for the core, but also great for the solar plexus. Working out in general actually will help your solar plexus in a more expansive way too. I need to get back to my workouts. Orange juice, oranges, anything citrusy. Lemons, obviously, lemonade. Any of that will help your solar plexus. All right, my loves, I'm gonna go because the message, this video wasn't even supposed to be this long, man. I finished my skincare like 10 minutes ago. What am I doing? Bye. I love you guys. Also, let me not be like that. Spiritual team that is for the highest good of this collective. Spiritual team that's for my highest good. Thank you so much for allowing me to deliver this message, for giving me the idea for it, the insights regarding all of the things we talked about today. Thank you for this collective for being here. Thank you guys, specifically the viewer, for watching. And I will see y'all in the next video. For all these things, I want to say thanks and ashe.